So in this video, we're going to react to a very interesting forum and a bunch of clips on Mr. Johari's thoughts or what he thinks about the Malaysian economy. How do we navigate the trade war? How do we improve GLCs and things like that? As well as, give you a glimpse of what could be the next, or who could be the next Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Just jokes. I have no idea who it will be, but certainly Mr. Johari has the potential, I guess. But anyways, let's
watch it.
Start watching. Too busy to find stock ideas? Check out Fiverr Pro to shortcut your research time and effort by 90%. 10% off link in the comments and description.
Ya, Bapak Menteri, saya ada different pandangan. Pandangan saya ini, I know you will not agree, tetapi saya cuba.
Okay, so for context, the question is related to the GLC's investment and also the
how to improve startups.
How to improve startups, culture, the companies and whatnot.
Ya, please. Boleh tak buka balik slide Khazanah tadi?
Ini good. You nampak, this is how the cabinet works. Banyak benda kadang saya bagi pandangan, dia tak setuju, tapi dia bagi pandangan. Ini very democratic.
Boleh buka Khazanah punya slide?
Jangan selalu lah.
Tak. We will make sure next time you still PM.
Yeah, so actually, I think this is very interesting because, usually politics is a very face thing, right?
Yeah.
Right? So here you have someone, quite publicly but very politely disagreeing with the Prime Minister. And of course, Datuk Seri is taking it very well.
Yeah.
And I see that as a good sign.
Yeah, actually, technically, he's not disagreeing to Datuk Seri Anwar. It's actually the other
within the
discussion.
Within the group, right? And he is good. Anyways, that's good.
Okay, let's look at CIMB, Tenaga Nasional, TM, UEM, and all this are listed.
By the way, this is not buy-sell recommendation.
Of course, minus Astro lah. Dia pun dah tak berapa bagus lah. CIMB Tenaga ni memang steady. CIMB Tenaga, TM, ini semua bagus. Jadi saya punya pandangan, yang amat hormat PM. Khazanah ni bila dia nak buat apa-apa, saya minta kerajaan duit. Jadi I think why don't we change this? Kalau you tengok ni total, dia punya asset in 150 billion. Look at CIMB, very established bank. Tenaga Nasional, monopolistic business. TM, there. So dia ni semua listed. Khazanah pun bukan kontrol 51% pun. 30% ya, 28-29%. So there is a value there. This country need money to develop what you have said. You only a portion of it. There's many out there that we can build. Supply chain, food security, kita pasal medicine yang kita selalu import, yang banyak-banyak ni semua. There's a lot of people can do this, but entry barrier, risk. Gambar di sini. Kalau gambar pakai semua ni. Jadi apa saya punya cadangkan? Go back to saya punya slide tadi. Slide saya tadi tu. Dia ada dua Khazanah, slide ada. Sebab saya punya pun dah delete.
Before he goes on, right? Basically, he's trying to say that startup has the potential to disrupt and also innovate. So instead of just relying imports, like just now you say medicine and other products that is not manufactured in-house. So he's trying to encourage and also recommend all the small SMEs or startups to actually go big, be more daring with their spending. And then he also say that the governments will also provide funding, and they are not here to control you. They are just here to provide you funding, and then you just do the work only. Essentially like that. But obviously you have to execute and you have to realize whatever you promise. So if let's say you fail to say do what you promise, then probably they will sell out. Yeah.
Kalau tengok Khazanah punya listed company tadi tu, yang successful give steady dividend. You talk to all this kita punya fund ni, KWSP, PNB, tabung haji, because these are all dividend paying investment. Bagi dia, Khazanah get the money. And then think something that you are able to develop a strategic industry that's missing. What more with all this stupid tariff being imposed to the world? There's so many other things we can do. Janganlah jual semua. Tapi kalau katakan nak pakai 20, 30, 40 billion, then kalau kita takut kita jual kat market, kita hilang that 20-30 strategic block, then you have all this. And all this fund like KWC, PNB, all that, they're ever ready to take 5%, 10% here, 5%, all this fund. And then enjoy the dividend is much more higher than even your MGS. So they invest. Meanwhile, Khazanah have that 30, 40, 50 billion up to how much they want to sell this strategic block. and you don't need to put an effort there because all this management is well intact in the respective companies. So you start thinking about how do we create a supply chain requirement for all the investors to come here, and they import, we give them notice, next 3 years, we're coming to be your suppliers. Or something like that. Or, macam Datuk Noh Sari sebut, too big to fail. Ya betul lah, too big to fail. Yang kita kasi naikkan investment sampai jadi big, kenapa? Become macam Sapura. You end up PMB own 40%. Jadi bila company ada masalah, terpaksalah dia kena tolong. Sebab dia ada larger shareholders.
Yeah, see? So here
Yeah.
he's there to like name companies that
Yeah.
didn't perform.
I think what he's trying to say as well is, look, Malaysian companies pay good dividends, and we all enjoy it. You know, people who hold the shares of the companies earlier that you mentioned, you know, benefit. But there is a downside when you pay so much, is that you don't reinvest.
Yeah.
So when you don't reinvest, then you don't develop what he calls strategic industries, presumably parts in given industry supply chains. And of course, you won't have money for startups and things like that if you just pay everything out, right? So I think that's what he's trying to get at.
30%. Tapi kalau kita kontrol 5% atau 10%, bila company tak bagus, kita reduce lah kita punya holding. Jadi tak adalah apa-apa nak kena guna PM juga, yang kena maki PM juga. Bila nak tolong, pasal. Nak tolong lah. Jadi PM pun come up with justification. Kita nak tolong ni, tak boleh. Ramai lagi masalah ni kita nak kena tolong. Jadi kalau kita tolong satu saja sektor, orang lain akan bising. So jadi ini sebenarnya akan menyebabkan kita membuat sesuatu gagal kerana kita letak kepada tempat yang tidak ada talent. I bagi you example. 1MDB, such a fantastic idea to invest. I believe if that investment is channeled through Khazanah, banyak benda boleh stop. Jadi pasal ada talent kat situ, melihat secara detail sesuatu investment tu dari segi profile risk, governance. Pasal dia dah biasa look at all these successful big companies and investment overseas, including kita punya domestic. So jadi tak ada successful. Ideas ni kena ada. Jadi kalau kita takut ideas, kita takut gagal, tak problem.
Yeah. So he say a good point over here, which is if let's say that business is failing already, and let's say they got bailed out once and they continue to fail, right? They shouldn't really pour much of their resources towards helping that company. There must be some problem that they need to resolve themselves internally instead of having a government to step in.
And this ties into his earlier point that if you're going to invest using public money, in this case, in a company, you shouldn't invest that much.
Yes.
Like 40% Sapura.
Correct.
Whereas if you just 5 to 10%, the risk
It's low.
is limited.
It's limited. Much more manageable. Yeah.
So,
Naik, terima kasih. No, tapi kalau
Yeah.
Johari Ghani sebut MDB, selamatlah urusan. Saya atau Gobin sebut problem sikit.
Yeah. Yep. So that is the short clip. But if you want to watch the 46 minute, there's also a 1 hour video. We'll attach the link in the descriptions. But anyhow, this is basically our takeaway that we got from Johari's talk or investing lessons to us. So number one, although he didn't really explicitly, or he did mention this, but it's a later part of the video, he mentioned that the reason why government invests is not to control the company, but it's more to maximize return from them. So their job is just to give money to the company to run, to make profit.
And maybe
make
open some doors.
Yeah, correct. And then eventually they want is just dividends. That's about it. Yeah, dividends, or maybe the company become more valuable, and that's how they make money. So that is the first number one priority for like investments from Khazanah. Number two is, if let's say the company is performing, then obviously they will continue to add state. But then
And the reverse is true also.
Correct,
It's
correct.
not, then you
Yeah.
cut.
However, they will like set like a limit so that they won't like control more than the majority shareholder. So they just want to be like your passive investor, that kind of thing. Third one, he mentioned there's a few companies, but I just put over here Tenaga, CMBTM. These are good companies according to him, but please don't buy just because he said that. And then the fourth one is he also say avoid investing in places that creates no talent. So in this case, he did like somewhat give an example, which is some Sapura, or not only just
1MDB,
Sapura,
yeah.
1MDB. There's also like other like maybe companies that just don't provide short shareholder value, or they are constantly making losses. So I mean, that's really a lesson over here. If you want to buy good companies don't have that such characteristics where they don't train their talents, where they don't make profits, where they don't pay dividends. Okay, the next one, so I think, is this the first government that name and shame a company? Or was it a few?
Yeah, I think he's the one that is the most direct, I would say.
Yeah. So I was quite surprised when he did mention Sapura. Yeah, because usually they would just like, keep face, like save face. So yeah, this one was mentioned. Bad company is Sapura. And he also did stress that if let's say a company failed, they cannot just fail without giving any reason or explanation. So for instance, like Sapura, right? They failed, yes. Then they got somewhat a second try, a second chance, but then they cannot really resolve yet again. So I think if let's say the first time you fail, it's okay, never give any explanation. Maybe the reason is obvious already. Maybe because the business is just that bad. But if let's say you fail again, then obviously you need some sort of like explanation so that you can actually tell the investors what is actually really happening behind the scenes. So yeah, this is actually very, very important. And this also ties a lot with the corporate governance part, which is part of the ESG. So if let's say listed companies, they face any MACC issue or they face any like real permanent problems in the industry, they should like be honest and tell investors. But which is a very rare thing because usually, management likes to hide things behind the wall. Yeah. So yeah, hopefully there will be more companies that are willing to be more transparent. Hey, last but not least, this is not inside the 10-minute clip, but it's in the 1-hour clip. Is basically they say, not only just Mr. Johari, but other panelists as well. So they say that cheap labor is actually not the way to grow your economy, and you need to constantly innovate. And they also learned this from somewhat from the US because the US kind of like relied cheap labor from other countries. And then as a result, their own manufacturing industry got hurt.
Yeah.
That's why they are trying to do tariff and trying to pour back manufacturing back to their country. So yeah, basically he's trying to say what lessons can we learn from that and apply to Malaysia is that we need to spend on R&D, we need to innovate. And also that's why the government is now willing to spend more money for the tech sector, especially. That's why you have the ARMS, the NSS, and so on.
So in that full video, they basically said, I think one of them, I can't remember which one, was sitting on the board of a manufacturing company also. They also read, hey, we need to automate, we need to create all these lines and all that. And then at that point in time, there was an increase in minimum wage for the cheap labor. I think this is in the palm oil industry. I think both in the palm oil and manufacturing industry. So then, it affected everybody. And then they said, oh, does this mean now we have to innovate?
Yeah.
So then they did their calculation, even with the increased minimum wage, even with inflation for the lodging costs and everything for their foreign worker staff, it's still cheaper than building an automation line and innovating, right? So that is so that's why they say, we're not going to do it because it's still cheaper.
Yep, correct. And also, if you want to know more about it, they also got talk a little bit about during the Q&A, someone asked whether Malaysia should be like China, which is bersusah payah sekarang.
Yeah, so to basically suffer a lot
now for the better of the future. So if you want to know more about their discussion on that, you can watch the full video. But anyway, we're just going to be focusing on this few points which is relevant to investing and hope you guys learn something about it. And this is our latest update. You can see that we have posted more information inside our FirePro news update. We basically talk about what is the Chinese and also what is the US selling to the Chinese and what is the Chinese selling to the US in 2024 numbers. Because I think if you go to OECD's website, they only released 2023. So this is quite the latest number. And if you guys are interested to know more on what information we share, you can check out inside FirePro. And this is the performance for April 2025.
Down a little bit.
Yes. Previously was like around 39%.
Yep. So, but it's better than expected, actually.
Yeah, correct. It's
April
quite
is a tough month, right? Yeah. So anyways, what is FirePro? FirePro is a community where basically you want to research companies, but you don't have the time. This is the perfect place. We speed up that research process. How? One, we have write-ups for you. Each of these write-ups takes only about 15 minutes to finish. Number two, you have a group of people, right, that will help you, fund managers, analysts, industry insiders. They help you understand the company a lot faster so that you're more confident whenever you invest. And of course, this means that, your chances of losing money is a lot lesser. And of course, we also have a reference portfolio. When we do a write-up, if the company is good, we put inside this reference portfolio for you to see so that you can get some ideas on how to build your own personal portfolio. We have 3 portfolios, Malaysia, Global, and the boring portfolio, which is more dividend focused. If you want to get a taste of what it looks like on the inside, head over to our free sample link, which you can find in the comments and description. And with that, I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.